Hi guys, today I'm going to do a review on how to put the right kind of heading and header on a paper that you're typing in MLA format. This will ensure, if you follow this process, that your paper is formatted and structured correctly, that it looks the way it's supposed to look. We've talked repeatedly in my classes about why it's so important to have that good presentation. The way your paper looks is the first impression a teacher gets of what it is you have to say, and so we want it to look like you did what you were supposed to do and like you know what you're doing. So I'm going to start. I'm working in Google Docs today, and I am working on a computer. It's a little different if you work on an iPad, so I'm going to create another video later to show you how to do it on an iPad. We're going to start by changing the font. For an academic paper, there are a few types of fonts that are appropriate. We don't want to use anything scripty, like I don't want to use Covered by Your Grace or Crafty Girls or Dancing Script. Comic Sans is kind of notorious. I don't want to use anything like that for an academic paper because it gives off an unprofessional feel. Now, if you're designing a poster, if you're in a graphic design class, absolutely those are fonts you want to be able to use. But when we are just creating an academic document in MLA format, we want to stay in that academic font. Times New Roman is a very legible font, and it's academically accessible, and 12 is a big enough font to read, but it's not so big that it looks cheesy or unprofessional. So we're going to stick with Times New Roman 12. We're going to make sure our alignment is left. You can see if I hover the mouse over the button, it's left align. And then we're going to make sure our paper is double spaced. So this box right here, the lines with the arrow, that's your line spacing. It should be set automatically at 1.15 if that's your default. We're going to change it to double. As I do that, I want you to notice that these pieces here both say add space before paragraph, add space after paragraph. If I'm working on a business letter and I'm not going to indent my paragraphs, I might have a reason to add spaces between my paragraphs. But when I'm working on a basic essay in MLA format, I don't want extra spaces between my paragraphs. It's a waste of space and paper and resources. So we want each paragraph to sit just one double-spaced line above the one below it. So we're going to click double space and leave all of those others. And then I'm going to make sure I'm typing not in my header, but just on the first page. So if I double click up here, you'll see the header appears. Anything I type in this box is going to appear on every single page. Now there are some things that we want to include in the header. So while I'm here, I'm going to once again change my font to Times New Roman 12 because changing it down here didn't change it up here. I'm going to go to Insert, Header and page number, and then I'm going to click on this one right here that has the pages on the right-hand side. That's going to give me a page number. Then I'm going to align that on the right-hand side of the page, and I'm going to type the last name of the student I'm working with up here, and I'll correlate that in a minute. But I'm going to make sure that that is Times New Roman size 12 font, since that's what we're working with the rest of the paper. If you just type in the student's last name and then you type the number 1, every single page will read student 1. I have to do insert page number, and that will put a different page number on every page. So I'm going to click out of there, and you can see the header went away, so I know I'm typing on the first page. So I'm going to type student name, teacher, class, and date due. For the student, since this is just a sample essay, I'm going to use Sally Student as my fake student name. You'll see that student as the last name correlates to student up here. Whatever the last name is here that should also be up here before your page number. Then for teacher, since this is for my class, I'm going to type in my last name. The class can be anything that specifies the class. It can be the name of the class. I do have a few students, because we teach on a block schedule, who like to put the class period. So they might type in 2A or 3A. That's fine. But in this case, I'm going to type in AP Language and Composition. Sorry, AP English, Language and Composition, the title of the course. And then I'm going to use the date due here. And always use the date due. There might be a different reason, but for me, there are two reasons why I emphasize this. One, I, as your teacher, don't want to know how long you spent on your paper. I don't care if you spent a week or a month. I care about the quality that's on the page. If you put the date you started working on it and you put yesterday's date, I'm immediately going to assume that what I'm going to read is going to be terrible. I don't want to have that feeling when I start reading your paper. If you put the date due, I'll never know how long you spent on it, unless I look at your revision history, which I won't. The second reason to put the date due is it's all about deadlines. That date due reminds you that that is the date it needs to be submitted. And there's something professional and respectful about honoring the deadlines that you have. That is a job skill that is extremely important. So since I'm doing this, I'm going to just make up a random due date. And notice that I'm working from small to large. MLA asks you to do day, month, year. The smallest period of time, the medium period of time, and the longest period of time. In that order, written out completely, no punctuation. Day, space, month, space, year. Then I'm going to hit enter or return one time to go on to the next line. And I'm going to center my paper, and this is where I'm going to put my title. And I'm just making up a random paper topic for right now. But I want you to notice that I've capitalized the entire title. I haven't bolded it. I haven't underlined it. All of these things, I left them alone. I didn't change the font size. I didn't do anything crazy to highlight the title. All I did was center it. The centering says, this is the title of my paper, so it's top and center. This is what's important for me to discuss. I do leave lowercase articles, a, and, well, isn't that nice of it to autocorrect? And those are my articles. I'm going to leave those lowercase. And short prepositions of, on, boy, it really wants to autocorrect, in, okay, for. Those words, if they're in my titles, I'm going to leave those lowercase. So short prepositions and articles do not need to be capitalized. Okay, everything else is capitalized. Then I'm going to hit enter one more time. I'm going to go to the left margin and ready to start typing my essay. I'll indent my first line, since it is the beginning of the paragraph, but I will not include any sort of wild spacing, fonts, or formats. Okay, and it's just that easy. When I'm ready to go on to my second paragraph, I'll indent my second paragraph too, but I don't need to add extra spaces. The indentation is enough to tell me that the paragraph has begun. Everything else can just go to the margin like usual. Okay, so I hope after looking at this you understand how to put the header and the heading. The header, remember, will show up on every page. And if I'll just show you really quickly, if I do a page break and add a second page, see it puts the header right at the top of the page, student 2. Don't have to do anything else with it. My heading is student, teacher, class, date, due, in that order. My title is centered, and the rest of my paragraphs are just indented and work like normal. No funky spacing. It would be a good idea for you to check your page setup and make sure, like mine, you have 1-inch margins all the way around. But other than that, it looks correct. Okay, good luck, and I hope this helps you correct the problems that you have with formatting.